Captain Dan here, Goober Time Guide Service. In today's video, I want to show you a couple hacks you can do to your anchors to make sure that you're not damaging your boat and that you never lose an anchor again. This anchor is from a company called Never Lost Anchor, and as you can tell, I've been using this thing for years. And I've recently bought a new boat for our guide service, so it's time to upgrade to a little bit bigger, heavier of an anchor. This has worked great for the fast current and muddy waters of the James River, but it's just time to go a little bit larger. This anchor's been in some nasty stuff and it's always come back to me. One of the keys to these anchors is that there's a zip tie down here and the chain actually attaches up at the top of the anchor. So if you ever get hung, you just tie your rope off to a cleat on your boat and use your motor to break the zip tie, or pull really hard if you think you can snap the zip tie. And once that zip tie breaks, the anchor comes out top first, so it pulls right out of any structure or cover or anything that it's stuck in. So with a fancy new guide boat, we needed a fancy new anchor. There it is, the Never Lost Pro Series anchor. Slightly redesigned tines are gonna grip a little bit deeper into the mud. It's got a couple extra pounds on it, and this is really gonna hold our boat in place. Now, Daniel with Never Lost Anchors is an awesome dude. He sends you with a bunch of extra zip ties. I don't think I've gone through that many zip ties in my entire couple of years owning my previous anchor, but he also includes some stainless steel chain, and optionally you can get it with a rope as well. I already have some anchor ropes, so I'm gonna show you how I like to attach my anchor ropes and how I can protect my boat from this chain really doing some damage on it. Let's head over to the workbench and I'll show you what this is all about today. And so our project today works with any anchor that has a chain attached to it. The purpose of the chain, instead of attaching a rope right to your anchor that's gonna float potentially or not have any weight to it, the chain will have a little bit more weight, add a few more pounds to your anchor, and just help things sink down a little bit and stay at a lower angle, which is gonna help your anchor catch. So get an anchor of your choice. I recommend a Never Lost anchor. You're gonna need some kind of pliers. I've got channel locks here. A razor blade's a good idea. Heat shrink gun, some scissors. This right here is an anchor ring shackle. You're gonna want one of those. Your rope of choice. I prefer to get a rope that has the built-in loop, and this one actually has a protective metal shield around it. You're gonna need some zip ties. Like I said, Daniel sends them with a bunch of zip ties. And this is really the key to the project right here. I'll link this down below, but we'll talk about that in a second. First thing you wanna do is take your razor blade and chop your zip tie off. Careful with that nice new paint job. Even if you just score it, you should be able to twist and pop that thing right off. So what we're trying to do here today is cover up this anchor chain. I don't want this banging against my boat, especially when I'm pulling my anchor in. The chain's a couple feet long, and that's the first thing that's gonna pop up, so I don't want my connection point to mess up the side of my boat or the chain to drag up the edge of my boat as I'm pulling it in. So we're gonna cover it in this material right here. I was originally thinking like a bike tube or something like that, but that's gonna hold water and moisture and dirt and grime in there. It's just gonna get nasty. Not that the chain's gonna be an issue. Daniel sends these with a stainless steel chain, so you've got nothing to worry about there. I just don't want this holding a lot of mud. We fish in a muddy river and I want this to be as clean as possible. Now, I'm not saying you have to click the thumbs up button, but my sources tell me that if you don't, you're gonna throw your anchor in, and even though it's a Never Lost anchor and it's not gonna get hung and get stuck, you're gonna forget to tie a rope to the other end and you're gonna lose that nice anchor that you just purchased. These things are basically a work of art, so you don't wanna risk it. Hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the channel out and we appreciate your support. So when I realized a bike tube was not the thing for me, I was starting to think about this mesh that these rod sleeve covers are made out of. And that was really what I was gonna go for, but I didn't really have a way to secure it to my chain without it sliding and bunching around like that. So I was gonna think about heat shrink on the top, heat shrink on the bottom, just kind of put that over the chain right there, which is when I stumbled across this product. I have this and all the other items you're gonna need for this project linked down below, but this one has a trick up its sleeve, so let's get to it. Take your, we're gonna call this mesh sleeving right here. Take your mesh sleeving and run it the length of your chain, measure it out. I've already done that, and I've actually made it so long that it goes about 6 inches past the end of my chain right here. From here, it's real easy. Open up your tubing and feed your anchor chain through it. Okay, so that's all the way up to the front here. If you didn't want to, you could probably stop this looming right here, right below your shackle, because this part, I mean, if this part's hitting your boat, your tines are probably hitting your boat anyway, but I'm gonna go the full length just to keep it nice and orderly and make it looking cool. Now you wanna go to the connection side of your anchor. This is where my chain stops, so I've got about that much room right there. I'm just gonna let that feed all the way through for me. And this part's a little bit of a pain, but try and get the end of that chain the best you can. If you use gravity to your advantage, you can kind of bunch up the sleeve and work it down and pull your chain through a little bit. And you could stop short of your connection point, but I'm going to show you why I think that's not the best idea. And once you get down towards the end, you can go ahead and pull that through. Pull that up a little bit, give yourself some room to work. And whether you do this project or not, this is really the way I recommend connecting an anchor to your rope anyway. Take your anchor shackle, open that up. It's got a little threaded pin that goes through. Slide that through the end link on your chain. Put that through your end on your rope, which is why I really like that metal rope right there. And put your pin in. Tighten that down. I'm going to use my channel locks here to really make sure it's bound up in there. That is not the piece you want loosening up while you're on the water. If you lose your never lost anchor, that's the only way it's going to happen. Okay, so get that laying really nice and neat there. This step is optional, but I like to take a couple zip ties, and there's a little hole right in the end of your anchor shackle there. I like to go through the hole and around my clamp and close that zip tie down. That's going to keep your pin from backing out. And at this point, if you're not a fan of the zip tie, there's a couple other options. You could wrap this in tape, or the best option would probably be to get some wire and go through there and twist it down so it's really going to lock it. But I think the zip tie is not going to rust and fall apart, and really this is just a redundancy because our next step is really going to help lock everything together too. Now that our rope's attached, we're almost home free. We're going to slide our mesh cover into its final location here. I'm just going to work all that slack down. And as I do that, it's going to go ahead and cover up this entire connection point right here. This little anchor shackle right here can really do some damage on the side of a boat, especially if you have an aluminum or fiberglass boat, and we just don't want that. That's why I cut this a little bit longer. It's going to make a nice transition between our rope and our anchor chain. All right, when you're happy with that, it's time for the heat gun, because this material right here is actually heat shrink. It's like a mesh heat shrink, which I was pretty excited when I found that. It's perfect for this application. So let's see how it goes. And this is 2-to-1 heat shrink, so it should shrink down to half its current size. And just take your time and work all the way down the chain. Now, what do you think about that? Nice protected chain. If that comes up the side of your boat, not going to be a big deal. 2 more steps and we're done. You might think it's one, but I got something else up my sleeve here. Take your zip tie, go through. You're not going to be able to go through a chain link, but you can just wrap it around the chain. Everything will work just the same. Okay, you still got your anchor functioning just as it should. Trim off your excess or not, up to you. And then one more thing that I recommend, and this is actually on your anchor rope side. A couple feet before you get down to your chain, I recommend tying a knot, so you know when you see that knot come up that your anchor is just about up to the boat, and you want to hold it away from the boat as you pull it up the rest of the way. I hope that video was helpful for you today. I absolutely love these never lost anchors, and if you want to pick one up for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description down below. While you're down there, write us a comment. Let us know what you think of our video here today, if you plan on using it in your system, or if you have a better idea altogether. Our channel is all about DIY projects and fishing videos, so if that's something you're into, you're going to want to stick around. I'll drop a couple other videos you'll probably be interested in down in the description box below, and you're going to want to go watch those now because this one's over.